Thank you, Donnie. Y'all give yourselves a hand. You got to liven up here, y'all. This is a beautiful Lord's Day. Let's have a hand. Come on. There we go. All right. Okay. Today we have a phenomenal speaker. All right. Matter of fact, the man is going to quit being a brain surgeon and be a speaker, I think, because he's been doing that for so many sessions lately. All right. Dr. Swaid, one of our own, as you know, is a brain surgeon. All right. You may not know, though, he was born in Elabun, Israel. Elabun, that's right. As Mike Stewart says, born 4 blocks from Jesus. One of the things he did that some of you know is married Dr Swaid, who, this is all true, is an international jet ski champion. Did you know that? 7 world titles, 7 national titles, 4 broken bones. They've all healed. Okay, good. All right. Known for her aggressive take no prisoners style. Okay. Seems like a good match here. Okay. Dr. Swaid's brother, Hannah Swaid, served as the only Christian member of the Israeli Knesset from 2006 to 2015. Quite an achievement. Dr. Swaid went to Galilee Christian High School in Israel, came here to Harding University, went to UAB Medical School, and chose neurosurgery and studied under the esteemed Dr. J. Garber Galbraith. He was chief resident, Dr. Swaid was, and finished #1 in the nation in the neurosurgery oral board exams. His performance has never been replicated. They have 5 children, 2 grandchildren. Help me welcome a man who has been heard to say several times, "I know what you're thinking. Remember, I'm a brain surgeon." Dr. Swaid Swaid.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Ross. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I like the idea of let's liven it up here and smile and relax. It's not going to be heavy here. I'm going to have a little fun with you and go to sleep. It's been a long weekend for me. I have to tell you, we traveled back from Searcy, Arkansas yesterday. How many of you know of Harding University or have gone there or whatever? Yeah, well, it's great.
Bald Knob, isn't it?
It's a suburb of Bald Knob. You're right. That's exactly right. You don't even go through Bald Knob anymore to get to Searcy. It's a big highway that goes there. So instead of me telling you anything, I'll just read you a text I got 3 minutes ago from one of the vice presidents there. Swaid, we so enjoyed having you and Christy on campus the last few days. I think Liz, the lady in charge, had you a bit overbooked. The students have been raving about your chapel talk. We all love you. Thank you so much, Steve. Anyway, so we were invited to speak at Harding University. Christy and I went up there for a few days. And yeah, I gave a lot of talks in different environments, but the biggest talk was to the student body, which is about over 6,000 people now. And that was the biggest audience I've ever spoken to, I think. You know, it's one of those things that frighten you, because when I was at Harding, and it still is true today, that those kinds of invitations go to presidents and ex-presidents and secretaries of state and people like that. So when they invited me to speak, it was 2 weeks after Russ had asked me to speak to you. So you could see that I've been trying to prepare for both. And so anyway, we get there and we do this, and it was really a tremendous experience. It was rather nerve-wracking, just to be very honest, and lighthearted about it. I mean, I didn't know what you'd say to the whole student body. And I just realized how young I must have looked when I was in college, because these kids look just so young, and it's, but they told me before I spoke that you know, the board of trustees approves the speakers. They have to know exactly kind of who they are and what they're about to say. But what I was told is that when you speak to college students, what they love is authenticity. They don't want a prepackaged speech that they could tell someone had rehearsed, and give it. Like you can tell preachers when they come. It's like, they've given it before, right? Well, I don't know how to do that. So it worked out really well for me. I didn't even like repeating myself from first chapel to second chapel. In fact, I was kind of flat the second one because I didn't know how to tell the same jokes and the same things. So it was tough. It was exhausting. Then I spoke to the whole, nursing program. They have about 600 or 700 students that study different subspecialties of medicine in what is known on campus as the Swaid and Christy Swaid Center for Allied Health Sciences. So it's a big old building, probably 3 times big as this church or maybe more. And there people are trained to go out and carry out the mission of Jesus through the ministry of health care. And so to be there and see that and interact with the students and with the professors and the deans was really an uplifting experience to see thousands of kids still out there who profess to be Christians, who want to be good and who want to do good things in life. It was really uplifting, but it was exhausting for me to go through, as he said, so many speeches with so many different people. But it was great. But everywhere I go, I'm always very proud to say that I attend the Homewood Church of Christ and that I have been here for 5 years or whatever it is, since 73, I can't count, maybe 43, and that I still love my people. I love you all, and I'm glad to be back here this morning to speak to you. So I want to keep this lighthearted. When I was at Harding, so I spoke at 9 o'clock, and it's a big deal. It's very formal. You sit next to the president and you wait till all this stuff. Anyway, I'm not a formality kind of guy. And I think the students quickly picked up on that and had just a good time with me. They were hollering and screaming, and I could have said anything, and it was great. But between the two talks, I want to tell you something happened that changed my mood. So I was between chapels, and people are milling and leaving and coming and going, and people coming and saying, hey, Dr. Swaid, my husband knows you, and my father, I went to school with you, whatever, many things they say. And then Leon Sizemore, who left a little while ago, came to say, Swaid, thank you so much for being nice to my grandkids at Harding. I met with his daughter, Stacy, and her husband just while there. But in between chapels, something happened that reminded me of this moment this morning. And it's changed what I am going to say to you today. Because we try to sort of make things more complicated than they really are. I was standing there, and this guy comes up to me, Ty. Mess. He looked like a professor, and he was a Harding professor. And he had a man and a woman with him, looked to be older. And he said, Dr. Swaid, I'm Dr. Bang. I'm the dean of the communications department, or whatever it was. And he said, and do you know who these people are? And I said, no, I don't. He said, these are my parents. And, they looked like just good old Arkansas people. And you could tell they had traveled in because I was on campus to speak from where they lived in the mountains in Marcella, Arkansas. And he said, this is, and he introduced them. Well, here's the story. When I was a senior in college, I held a Bible revival meeting in the small town of Marcella, Arkansas. And I preached there every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, through Sunday. It was a week-long meeting. And I was a very young guy. And I spoke, and apparently one night, these two people, I had gone to their house, knocked on their door, invited them to come to church. They were not members of the church. In a small town in the mountains of Arkansas, they had come to church. I preached. They came back a second night. I preached. And apparently, they both came forward as a young married couple with 2 young girls at the time. They all came forward and wanted to be baptized into Christ. And as he began to tell me this, it all came back to me like it was yesterday. And I said, oh, I remember you guys came up, and I wanted we had a baptism, and I went up to they didn't have elders. It was a small church, smaller than the number, well, no, twice the number of people that are sitting here, I would say, today. And I went to, who seemed to be a leader like Steve over there. You can tell Steve is a leader of this situation here. He's nice, and he looks like he knows what he's doing, and I say that as a compliment. So I went up and I said, we need to baptize these people. And they said, well, Brother Swaid, we hadn't baptized anybody here in about 20 years. Our baptistry doesn't have any water in it. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? So we called the church down in Batesville, Arkansas, which was a bigger town, and called them in one of the landlines. You know, you didn't have cell phones then. Asked one of the elders there, who did have elders, if we could come and baptize. Oh, we'll be very happy. So we all drove in a little caravan from Marcella to Batesville and had a baptism that night. And here it is. 40-some years have passed. I've completely forgotten about it. But here's a man and a woman who went on to have a son and daughters who have grown up to become professors at Harding University, who all now attend church and serve the Lord in their different capacities, just because I had gone up there thinking I couldn't do anything with this bunch up here in the mountains of Arkansas, and look what came out of it. It changed my mood. It allowed me to look at myself in a different light. You know, I take myself not very seriously at all. All this stuff you hear, I am just a regular guy who clowns around with my boys. And I do things to the brain every once in a while and mess with it and try to make it better. But really, in reality, it all comes down to our service in the kingdom of the Lord and in trying to result in some good things coming out of that service that we provide. So it was really a very uplifting experience for me, but I'm just glad to be back at home in Birmingham. Look, I want to say a few uplifting things. Christy tells me what to do. Even at Harding, you know, I had to go, what do I have to do here? I know what I want to say. You want to show some pictures? I had so many talks prepared for so many different occasions, I've lost track. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read from the New Testament, okay? I don't want to be very, technological and all that. There may be a few pictures I'll show, and that's fine. But I want to be, we tell people, read the Bible. Well, okay, that's what I like to do. So I'm going to read a few, open to Romans chapter 12 and verse, let's start in verse 9. Just take a few minutes, and I was hoping Leon would stay because he can read with a better voice than mine. But I really just want to read a few things, and I want to make a few points. Now, some of you may not like what I say today. And that's okay, because I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to read what the New Testament teaches us, okay? So if you don't like it, it's fine, but I just like for us to kind of sometimes get in the spirit of what the Word really says. And I think that people, and I told the people at Harding, here's my thesis, here's my idea about what's going on. My idea is that there is today in our society a tug of war between the values of our culture and those of our faith. How many of you agree with that? That there is a tug of war going on in America between the values of America, our culture, a country we love. Don't misunderstand. But there's a tug of war between what's culturally popular and is going on and what our faith as Christians demands of us. And it's tough. It's a tough tug of war between the two. And sometimes I think and I believe and I begin to feel as though culture is winning over church. Now, that may be frightening And it should be, but it really isn't. Because church will win in the end. We know that. We know that. But in the meantime, we must not be complacent and be drawn into this side just because it's popular. You know, you watch what's on our television. You watch how people speak. You watch how people behave. And a lot of things go today that did not used to go 30, 40 years ago. Even in the church. Do you all agree with that? Sure. Okay, so I'm going to speak truth to you today. People are afraid to speak simply and directly and beautifully. They're afraid. They speak in circles. Like they say to you, we must live a spiritual, holy life. They say to you and to me, the gospel of grace is there to take care of us. And I like that. I love that. But you know what I want to say to people? Tell the truth, don't lie. Dress modestly, don't dress like you're some kind of a Broadway, whatever you are up there. Dress decently. Speak kindly to one another. Don't go along with the crowd. You have 100 people shouting, we hate him. Don't join in just because they're saying it and you'll be popular. Just stand back and have that Christian grin on your face and say, yeah, right. I think Jesus said, I'm not supposed to hate anybody. Or did he? Did he say that? Maybe he quit saying it because our culture likes confrontation. There is no civility left. And if the people in Christian faith will not begin to remind themselves that Jesus said these things, what's left? Culture will win. So I say that there are values that we should teach our people repetitively. Every day we should repeat these things. And I will tell you some of them. Not all of them, but some values. We need to teach our people straight up faith in God and His creating the world. Say it just like that. Now at Harding, talking to professors of physics and chemistry and astrology or whatever it is, I have no problem saying that because I, as a student and now, have never been afraid that anyone would talk me out of that belief because I know it to be true. So we need to remind our people, and we need to teach them to obey the teachings of Jesus Christ. Obey them. Not just talk about them, but obey them. We don't talk about obedience as much as we used to in the church. Because as I talked to you once before, I talked about Lipitor Christianity. You know what Lipitor Christianity is? How many of you know what Lipitor is? It's a drug you take for high cholesterol, right? So, if a doctor tells you, don't you worry about a thing, go out here, eat all you want, lounge around the sofa and watch TV 24 hours a day, smoke you a couple of joints a day, drink you a fifth of whiskey every day, get a dessert with about 3 pieces of chocolate pie, lay back, kick back, couple of beers on top of that, watch a couple of football games, you are a great American. And you say, well, Doc, my cholesterol may go through the roof. And he says, don't worry, we got Lipitor. Take Lipitor. Take care of it. Take care of it. Another guy says, look, be responsible. You know, don't be a glutton. Enjoy food, but don't eat too much. Exercise a little bit every day. Take care of yourself, and gives you all the good instructions that may lead to good health. Now that guy, he's asking you to do something, but he's telling you the truth. Christianity is the same way. There are people who want to say, you know what? And I'm not talking about you or necessarily people within a certain faith group. I'm just talking, when I say Christianity, I mean the people you see on the street who've got a cross. You know, they wear a cross. You see those people, right? So by wearing a cross, you think they associate. Well, you know, by associating and by believing that grace is there, they then begin to take it as just our sermon this morning said, because there's grace, let sin abound. And the Apostle Paul said, no, grace is not here for you to sin more. Grace was your ticket to have a chance at forgiveness from sin through the blood of Jesus. And people begin to confuse these two things, and before you know it, everything goes. So who stands in the way of that kind of teaching to our young kids? Us. We're responsible, because that's what the Bible teaches. Generosity. How many of you teach generosity of spirit and materialism? Generosity. Again, you don't want to talk about yourself, and I don't even know what time it is, and I'm so confused by this. 10:20. We have what? 11:30? We got 7 minutes. People brag about how tight-fisted they are. Boy, I'm careful with my dollar. You know, they talk like that, like it's a cool thing to say that. Well, it's really not cool. All right? It's not cool. Look, if I was going to be tight with my fist on my dollar, I'd have a lot of money in the bank. Driving over here today, Christy opened up this big thing that we were given at Harding. It's a note from every single student and professor in that building that we helped build up there, that they named after us, telling us what's happening in that building. Now, it costs a lot of money to do that. But when you read what's happening up there, it makes my heart overflow with joy. That money in the bank. But you know what? Generosity is important. Truthfulness. Tell the truth. Teach our young kids, I want you to live a spiritual life, kids. I don't know what that means. I'm dumb, I'm foreign. I don't even know what a spiritual life, I may not know what that is, but I know what it means if someone tells me, tell the truth and don't lie. Do you agree? It's simpler to understand. But we don't talk like that anymore. I guess we're afraid somebody's feelings might get hurt. They won't if you do it in the right, cool way that it's supposed to be done. And loyalty. Are we loyal to each other? Do we show friendship and kindness and gratitude for the good things that the Lord has blessed us with? Those are the values that we should learn from the New Testament. And then these values need to stay with us as we grow older and as we teach our children, and we need to use them. Because character that we talk about, character is standing up for your values in every situation and in every place. That's what character is. So we need to more plainly, in my opinion, and more simply, encourage ourselves to practice these things. You know, being kind, being friendly, being generous are very important things. Now I was going to read from Romans 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authorities? Do what is good. Do you want to be unafraid? Do what is good. And you will have praise from the same. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid. For he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because of this, you also pay taxes. For they are God's ministers attending continually in this very thing. Render therefore to all their due. Taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs are due, fear to whom fear is due, honor to whom honor is due. I want to read you one more, 1 Timothy 2:2. It says, pray for all men, for all kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. So I guess I wanted to say something about that very quickly, because that's what I told you I would say. I see people in turmoil about political wars going on in our country. Do you see that now? And this is the encouragement I want to give you today. Take a deep breath. Relax. God will work it out exactly like God wants it to work out. Okay? So don't worry. Don't worry about it. Just know that any authority that is appointed, it is because God has a plan that you and I may not see or know anything about right now, but be reassured that we are taught to respect whatever God allows to go forward. And the Bible teaches us, whether we like or don't like the political outcome of anything that comes, and I'm not speaking out of school here, I'm just reading from the New Testament, that we are the kind of people who are to live at peace with everyone. The Christians are. Now the ones who aren't Christian, they'll do whatever it is they're going to do. But as Christians, we're encouraged to live peaceably with other people. Be kind to them. Smile at them. Don't say I hate them. Say I love them. And it goes even further. Man, I could see you in your mind imagining at least 3 political figures I'm thinking of right now. 3. Right now. 3. 1 in, 2 out, coming in. I can see you imagining them. What does the Bible tell us to do vis-a-vis these people? What does it tell us? It tells us to pray for all those who are in authority, and to shed this sense of, oh, we got a war coming, everybody strap it on. Don't strap anything on. Strap on love and kindliness, and pray for those, whoever they may be, that end up in authority, because it is the way God wants us. You know what? With God in the mix, and with me being told to smile and relax and live peaceably with everyone and pray for everyone, it is very possible that the stress and anxiety that all this culture turmoil creates may abate. It may become less. You may then realize that it's obedience to God and the values in church that will see us through life, not what somebody legislates up somewhere. I don't care what some Supreme Court judge thinks or doesn't think. I care what Jesus tells me to do. So before they legislate something to be illegal, if it goes against God's will, I'm not going to do it anyway. So don't let all this burden you down. Take it in a strong, positive Christian stance, and I believe that that is a way to be encouraged and to move forward with optimism. Thank you all very much.